What is the difference between seals and sealings?
A seal is a stamp bearing a device or legend or both pertaining to the owner. Sealing is impression of such stamp. On the seal, the device and the legend will be in negative, which will come in the impression in positive. From a single die, one could make many impressions. Generally, the seal will be found where the owner was staying. Normally, sealings will be found if they were affixed on letters and parcels to places where the owner dispatched them. So that is primarily the difference. More often than not, scholars use seal for both, but this is wrong. One should distinguish it as far as possible.
Sir, what were the materials used for the manufacture of seals?
Well, for seals in ancient India, stones of various kinds, clay, copper, bronze, bone, ivory, silver, gold, these were the materials used for making seals in ancient India. But gold and silver, being costly metal, could be afforded only by a few. And after the death of the owner of the seal, generally such seals were melted for the value of its metal.
Okay. So, who owned the seals?
Seals were worn by kings and queens, by government officers and officials, by economic organizations, temples and monasteries, educational institutions, tribal republics, and private individuals.
Sir, could you please throw some light on the language, script and devices met with on seals?
Two languages, Sanskrit and Prakrit, have been used as legends on seals.
Okay.
Well, so far as the scripts are concerned, two scripts, Brahmi and Kharosthi, were used. Brahmi seals have been found in large numbers, whereas Kharosthi seals have been found in a few numbers.
Okay.
Well, there is only one seal, a unique one, in which we find the name of the owner being given in Brahmi, Kharosthi and Greek.
In one seal?
In one seal. That is a unique seal. Otherwise, we have either in say, Brahmi or in Kharosthi.
Okay. How and for what the seals were used? I mean, what were their implications?
Yes. Well, normally, a seal was used like this. You have an envelope and you put a letter in the envelope and then close it. And where you close it, you put a lump of moist clay and then stamp it. So long as the seal is intact, you can be sure that nobody has read it. Similarly, if you have a parcel, you can bind it with a string, and then where there is a knot, you put a lump of moist clay and stamp it. So long as the seal is intact, you can be sure that it has not been tampered with.
Okay.
And then, there are other uses also. Some clay tablets which were baked could be used as votive offerings. Or in temples, they could be offered as prasad or memento to the visiting pilgrims.
Okay, so that were also seals?
Yes, that was seals.
Okay. So how do you explain the presence of more than one impression on certain seals?
Well, normally we have got only an impression, but there are a few clay lumps which bear more than one impression. Now they can be because of different reasons. For example, there are certain clay lumps which bear the impression of Nalanda monastery and side by side village seals. We know from other sources that Nalanda was granted a number of villages. That means the revenue that the villages were paying to the state would be now paid to the monastery. So there must have been some transaction between the Nalanda monastery and the villages, and because of that we have got the seal of Nalanda monastery and the villages.
Okay.
We've got another case. We have got Lams where we have got the seal of an institutional economic corporation of the Sreshtis, Sartavas and Kulikas. That is the merchants, the caravan merchants and artisans. And on those
So these are the different category of merchants.
So we have got the seals, one bearing the stamp of this particular corporation, and there may be one or more impression of other types. They may be either the people who borrowed money from the corporation, or they might have been witnesses.
Okay.
Then there is a third category. If you find the impression of the same seal repeated on several times, it may be possible that the maker of the seal was testing the seal.
Okay.
And then the fourth we can talk about, there is one seal of a monastery called Goshitaram from Kaushambi, on which there is another seal of Turmana. Turmana was a Huna king. So from this we can understand that Turmana had come to Kaushambi, of course, after conquering it, isn't it?
Okay.
And so he puts a seal. This particular, both the impression could have been put only when the clay was moist.
Okay.
You see, so that means Turman was present there. See, so that shows clearly that his
That
presence there
presence
means
there.
he had conquered that region.
Region.
Yes.
Okay. So, and on what aspects of history and cultures do the seals and sealings throw light?
Here, seeds through light on political history, on administration, on religion, on economy. They throw light on educational institutions.
On various aspects.
They tell how the names were given in the ancient period, what are the criteria, and like that.
Okay. So what you have stated shows that seals are an important source of various aspects of ancient Indian history and culture. I would like to elucidate one by one the different aspects of history and culture as gleaned from seals. You may proceed with the light the seals throw on political history of ancient India. I mean, first you throw light on the political history of ancient India as gleaned from the seals.
Well, we know the seals of a large number of kings. So you can say belonging to different dynasties and different regions. We know some seals bear the names of the father of the king. Some seals give genealogy, right from the first king to the ruling king. So we know who succeeded whom.
Okay.
But in some cases, in those genealogies, collaterals are not mentioned. Meaning thereby, they mention only when the succession was father to son.
No.
If it was a brother to brother succession, they would only that brother and will mention that man will give only from father to him. And
Okay.
if his son brother has preceded, he may or he may not mention him. So that is interesting. Now, from these seals, we get a number of kings who were not known from other sources. And that's interesting,
So can you throw some light on it?
Actually, I will tell you that after the rule of Skandagupta in the Gupta dynasty, most of the genealogy and chronology of the Gupta kings are based on seals only.
Okay. What information do the seals provide regarding the administrative system in
Well,
ancient
these
India?
seals give us the name of several administrative officers like Pratihar, Amatya, Mantri, Ayukt, Prayukt, Vinyukt, and so forth. Well, they also give us an idea about the village assemblies. And that is very important because in ancient times, such large empires as those of the Mauryas or the Guptas could only be sustained because of village assemblies. Because most of the, we can say, judicial and administrative work on the local level was done by the head of the village with the help of the village assembly. And so that's why we don't find that type of problems that we have today. when the means of communications and transport were not available, as we have today, still large empires could be founded. It is because of these village assemblies. I'd like to mention a few sealings which belong to army officers. They are those Ashtrapati, that is cavalry officer, Mahashtrapati, great cavalry officer. We have got Baladhikrit, that is general. We have got High Hastadhikari, an officer who is in charge of both horse, that is cavalry, and elephant corps. So we have got a large number of seals belonging to military. We have got seals like that. The Uparika is an officer who is head of a province. Vishayapati was an officer who was head of a district. And there were also the officers who were head of subdivisions of district like Na or Vithi. Now I would like to particularly mention two officers, especially I have kept them for the last. One is Dandanayak. Danda means army, Danda means staff, and Danda means punishment. Accordingly, this particular officer has been taken by scholars, by some as a general, by others as a police officer, and by still others as judge. And now the last officer that I would like to mention is Kumaramatya. You know, this Kumaramatya, for the first time we come across this particular officer in the Gupta period. Obviously, there are literally meaning of it is, it can be literally translated Kumar as an Amatya, that is a prince who's acting as a minister. Or it can be a minister, you see, who became a minister in young years. Kumar may also mean young man. See? Now, but actually this should be translated, or this should be understood as a prince who enjoyed certain, an Amatya who enjoyed certain privileges granted to the prince. Why I say? Because we have got on seals Kumaramatya who were district officers, who were provincial officers, who were attached to Yuvraj, who were attached to king. So in that way they were like modern IAS officers.
Okay.
See, so this is what I have to talk about the administrative system.
So you are saying that sales throw considerable light on the administrative tiers and also about the military organizations
Yes,
also. Okay, thank you. Please tell us what light ancient sales throws on religion and iconography.
Well, I should say that most of the information that you get from seals is about religion and iconography. Even these seals belonging to these administrative officers are important from the point of view of religion and iconography because they were representing the deities, you see, to which they were devoted. So even these seals, even kings were representing. For example, you will find the seals of the Mokhris representing the bull. That is Shiva's bull, figure of Shiva. And the Guptas will be representing, say, Garuda, which is a Vahan of Vishnu. So all sorts of...
And in copper plate charters also we find seals with
yes,
different kinds of symbols.
So like that we find here that several seals, two religions, but more important religions, that is Hinduism and Buddhism. They are represented on seals, but not Jainism. This is strange. We don't have any seal belonging to the Jain pantheon.
Jainism, we do not have any.
Now, as regards the Hinduism, we'll say that the most popular deity was Shiva, who has been represented both in human form and also by symbols.
Okay.
The Shiva symbols are Trishul, Parashu, Rosary, and Nandi, that is the Vahan of Shiva. Now, we have got several Shiva seals with name ending in Ishvara. It has become a convention. Even today we find most of the Shiva shrines have got Ishvara ending name. So we have got the names of several seals as Bringeshwara, Kalaseshwara, Gavastishwara, Amratakeshwara, Avimukteshwara, so Pitakeshwara. So many shrines are mentioned on these seals. And what is interesting, that some of these shrines find mention in the Puranas. Okay. For example, Amratakeshwara shrine is mentioned in Matsya Purana.
So this is corroborated also by the literary sources.
Yes, literary sources. And again, it is interesting that the seal of Mukteshwara from Varanasi, that particular, we have got seals reigning from 4th century to 10th century. At least that this shrine was in existence for these about 600-700 years. And further, which we know is that there is a shrine called Pitakeshwara, I have just mentioned, where a linga called, you see, Pitakeshwara, you see, is still in Varanasi. So the tradition continues even today. So that is the significance of Shaiva seals. As regards the Vaishnava seals, we have got lesser than what we have got in Shaiva seals, but we have got more varieties so far as symbols are concerned. Vishnu is represented in human form very rarely on seals, but Vaishnava symbols like Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, Srivatsa, these are Vaishnava symbols. They are very commonly represented on the seals. So that is the difference between the two. Now we have certain seals which give us idea how there was cooperation and cordial relations between different religions. For example, we have got Ardhanarishwara representation. This Ardhanarishwara representation, half Shiva and half Shakti, that is Parvati, gives us an idea of syncretism between Shiva and Shaktikas.
Okay.
We have got legends like Shankar Narayana Bhyam and Shiva and Vaishnava symbols, meaning thereby that there were people who were worshipping both Vishnu and Shiva on the same temple, just like we have got Hari type of images.
So the practices of syncretism is also depicted by the
seals, on seals, isn't it? We have got a seal on which there is written in Tukharian script, which has been read. The names have been read as Shiva, Vishnu, and Mihir. So Mihir is sun. So this particular seal shows syncretic icon, and the symbols are those of Shaivas, Vaishnavas, and Sankalp. So this is again an interesting evidence of that. We have got certain seals bearing fire altar. This is the influence of the Iranian cult on Indian solar cult.
These are, I guess, Yoga Vedis?
Yeah, the Magha. You see, the Magians are called, who came here in 1st, 2nd century AD, and they influenced the solar cult. Yeah. Now, we have got various representation of Durga. See, we have representation of Lakshmi, particularly in the form of what you call Abhishek Lakshmi or Gaja Lakshmi. Lakshmi being anointed by 2 elephants, one on either side. And we have got many other such minor yakshas and nagas and other such deities. So far as Buddhist seals are concerned, we have got a number of monastic seals. A seal called of Mool Gandhakuti from Sarnath, belonging to 6th century BC, is interesting because it is said that the kuti or the hut in which Buddha lived was called Mool Gandhakuti. So that means, and it is generally believed that where this particular seal was found was perhaps the place where the original kuti of Buddha must have been there.
Okay.
See? Now we have got seals of so many monasteries. For example, that of Nalanda, which is so important, isn't it? Now this became a very important center, particularly after post-Gupta period, 6th, 7th century onwards. And we know that not only Indians but foreigners from Central Asia, from China and other countries used to come and study here. Even Wen Sang, the Chinese program, came and studied here for many years. See, so we've got a number of seals of Nalanda monastery. See, it was a privilege.
I guess from their accounts also we come to know about this monastery. And
yes. So we can say that Wen Sang, for example, says that 1,000 teachers were there and 10,000 students. Well, this speaks volume for this monastery, and it became such a great center. It has for its seal the device of wheel and deer.
Okay.
The wheel and deer device, actually originally, it was meant to just symbolize the first sermon of the Buddha at Sarnath.
Okay.
We were told that he delivered his sermon, first sermon, in the deer park at Sarnath. So this is called technically as Dharma Chakra Pravartan, or what we call in Sanskrit, turning the wheel of law. So this wheel represents law, and the two deer represent the deer park of Sarnath. But as time passed, this became popular for other monasteries, and it came to symbolize Buddhist teaching, not Buddha's teaching only, but also Buddhist teaching. And so Nalanda, which is the main center of teaching, the Buddhist studies and other studies, well, they adopted this wheel and the symbol. We've got a number of sealings from Kushinagar, and there were different monasteries, but each one was a Parinirvana monastery. And it's very, very clearly, we know that Buddha's Parinirvana took place at Kushinagar. See? And so the monastery of the seal, it adopted two symbols. One is the wheel and the deer, which had become very popular at the time, and the other is the coffin between two sallow trees. We know from literary evidence that Buddha, see, died between the two sallow trees near Kushinagar. So that symbol was chosen by these people. But generally in Indian context, well, death, such type of scenes are not shown. So these people borrowed from Gandhara art, in which we have got several such representations. See? Now we have also called what you call Dharani Mantra. Dharani Mantra was with these people, E Dhamma Hetu Prabhava.
You see Buddhist script.
This is called Dharani. Shall I narrate the whole, or this will be all?
No, you can briefly, you can throw light somewhere.
Right. So, E Dhamma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Tesam Tathagato Yavat Tesam Chiyo Nirodho Hi Hevam Vadi Mahasramana. Now, in this particular, we are told from literature that there was one Buddhist monk, Ashwajita, and Sariputra saw him, and he was impressed by him, and he went to him and said, "Sir, tell me who's your teacher and what does he teach?" And they told that my teacher is Buddha and he has taught this, which means that everything springs from cause, and Buddha has said how this pain and sorrows and suffering can be eliminated. This is the Dharani Mantra. This became very popular, and it has been found in hundreds from different monasteries. You see, this Dharani Mantra. So this is one. Now I can also talk to you about one more monastery, and I may also tell you that one of the several evidences that has helped us in identifying Kushinagar with modern Kashia. The name has again become turned into Kushinagar now, but Kashia was the popular name. Is these Parinirvana sealings, because they mention Parinirvana. So Parinirvana sealing will only be for the monastery of where Buddha's Parinirvana took place. I mean, also it's a very interesting thing. One seal comes has the Rakta Mritika Vihara. Rakta Mritika Vihara. Now, one inscription from Malaya Peninsula, not from India but Malaya Peninsula, it gives us the information that there was one great Navik, Buddhagupta, who came from Rakta Mritika. It was difficult for us which place is Rakta Mritika. But this particular seal from Rangamati in Murshidabad district has finally settled the matter, and we can identify that this is the place, Rakta Mritika, from which this Buddhagupta hailed. See?
Though Saivas, Vaishnavas and the Buddhists used these seals, but strikingly enough the Jains didn't.
We do not know why, but it's very strange. Because I will tell you, Jainism, Buddhism tried to spread. So also Hinduism. Jains, they are a little bit conservative, isn't it? But of course they made a lot of, from Mathura, Kali Tila, we have a lot of Jain images. But somehow they didn't so much bother about showing these things on seals. We do not know, but of course it's not there.
Sir, do the seals and sealings throw light on the economic life?
We know that in ancient India, the economic guilds played very important part. We've got two types of guild, the Shreni and Nigam. Shreni is craft guild and Nigam is a guild of merchants or a combined guild of merchants and artisans, that is kulikas. We have got 273 sealings from a room at Vaishali belonging to a corporation on whose seal we have got the legend Shreshti Sarthva Kulik Nigam. This is the legend on 273 seals found in one room at Vaishali.
Okay.
Now, Shreshti is merchant cum banker. Sarthva is caravan merchant who sells his goods moving from one place to another place. And Kulika are artisans. So it's very important. We have got here from Vaishali itself, we have got seals of Shreshti Nigam, that is the corporation of the or the guild of the Shreshtis. We have got also seals of Kulik Nigam, that is the guild of artisans. And we have got seals of all these combined.
Okay.
So this must have been a large economic corporation and must have played a very important part in the life of the people. So that is in economic life particularly. Most of the people, we have got the Shrenis, three seals of the Shrenis. One is Kumbhakar Shreni, that is the guild of the potters. These people, what they did? They all combined together and see that the rights are preserved. You see, unity means you've got the power. So different potters joined together and found a guild, and that became Potters Guild.
Okay.
Fixing the price, quality, and so many other things. We have got one sealing from Varanasi. It is Gavayak Shreni. That is guild of milk, sellers.
Okay.
So, just like we go dairies today, there were milk sellers, so these people this will be the price of the milk, this will be the quality of the milk, you will sell it milk in that village, you will go to that village and so on and so forth. These all types of things would have been maintained by them. And then we have got one particular Shreni, Aranak Shreni, that is guild of the foresters. So, forests played a very vital part in ancient Indian history. We got what? We got game animals from there. We got, say, hide. We got honey. We got wood. We got flowers. We got horns. We got ivory, and so many things from forests. So, forest people had their own guild. You see, and this has been found at Varanasi. So we know that in literature, and particularly one particular inscription, if you've heard about it, this is an inscription Mandasar from Mandasar. That was the guild of silk weavers, Dashapura. And that silk weavers guild mentions that, we prepared such a good stuff. The silken clothes that women, even though they are beautiful, even though they are wearing golden ornaments, even if they are decorated with flowers, do not feel confident that the lover would like them unless and until they wear the clothes manufactured from the cloths prepared by our guild. So these guilds played so important part, So this is about the guilds and economic organization.
Thank you, sir. Sir, now can you tell us that about the educational institutions? I mean, did the educational institutions also have their own seals?
We have got different type of institutions in ancient India. One, we have the seals from Varanasi. We have got Charana seal. Charana were schools of Vedic study. They were called Charana. And then we have got,
I mean birds.
no, they are charan.
Okay, that is
Charan is a technical word meant for Vedic schools.
Okay.
Here people will come and study Vedas. Now we have got seals of Atharvaved Charan. We've got seals of Samveda Charan. We've got seals, you see, of other Vedas also. So this shows, and these seals are datable to Gupta period. This shows that in Gupta period, Varanasi was very famous for Vedic studies. And these institutions must be corresponding with each other. There must have been debates going on, exchange of teachers and so on and so forth. So that they had seals is very important. You see? And then we have got other types of seals relating to education. One is Agrihar. Agrihar is a village which kings donated to Brahmanas so that they can devote their time for learning, teaching and performing religious rites without bothering for their livelihood.
Name of the village is Agrahar?
No, Agrihar, any village which was granted to Brahmanas was called Agrihara village.
Okay.
Understand? Now, so, you know, the kings thought that the Brahmanas should not bother doing this job and that job, so that because their studies will be hampered. So they granted them villages and said that the income or the revenue of that village, which previously was going to state, will now go to the Brahmanas.
Okay.
So we've got several seals of Agrihara villages. See, now we've got two more types of educational institutions which find mention in seals, and one of them is Trividya and the other is Chaturvidya. Trividya, one can say that where the three types of vidyas were studied. We've got in ancient Anishiki, Trayi and Varta. These are the three most important types of vidyas that are taught. And we've got Chaturvidya, where four vidyas are taught: Anvikshiki, Trayi, Varta and Dandaniti. Dandaniti is politics. Anvikshiki is dialectical. Now, Trayi is Vedas, you see, and Varta is economics, and Dandaniti is politics. But most probably, these were also schools of Vedic studies. Often, Vidya and Veda mean the same. And that is why Saraswati, which is the goddess of learning, is also called Vedamata. So most probably, these were, the Trividya was an institution where three Vedas were taught, and Chaturvidya would have been an institution where all the four Vedas were taught.
Okay. Sir, the Harappan seals are known for artistry. Is this the case with the seals of the historical period also, which you are talking about?
Well, historical seals in general do not show that sort of artistry that we find in the Harappan seals. But there are certain animals, particularly bull and lion, represented on seals which are quite artistic. And some of the female figures represented on seals can compare well with any best piece of sculpture, you see, so far as the depiction of the female beauty is concerned.
Okay. What light do seals throw on the practice of name giving in ancient India?
Well, it would be quite interesting to know what type of names were being given in ancient past. Well, maximum names are after the deities.
After the deities, okay.
Because, of course, Shiva and Vishnu were the most popular deities. Obviously, then, the various names of Shiva and various names of Vishnu were given to the people, adding Datta or something else as name building. You can't call normally we can't call a child as Vishnu,
No.
but you can call him Vishnu Datta.
This is Datta, yes.
See, so most of these are after them, but there are other deities are also there, after which the names have been given. The names are also given after rivers, after animals, after trees, after nakshatras, and so on and so forth. Quite interesting are the name endings. Well, the Smritis tell us that for the four varnas, that is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, the name ending should be Sharman, Varman, Gupt and Das. Meaning thereby that if the boy is Brahmin, his name should end in Sharman. If he is a Kshatriya, his name should end in Varman. If he is a Vaishya, his name should end in Gupta. And if he is a Shudra, his name should end in Das. But in practice, this was not followed.
So it was in theory.
No, because in theory,
Practice was
because
different
again,
from-
why I say, because we have got one great example is that of Kalidasa, where his name ending is that of a Shudra according to the Smritis, but he was a Brahmin. So these are not followed. And quite interesting are certain names like Chuchak and Bhubbulu. Now, these names mean nothing. But why should such names be given? It is generally believed in certain tribes, particularly if the children are dying one after the other, the parents give such names to the newborn so that evil spirits will not harm him. So this can be explained like that.
Today, as you said that we are talking about the seals and sealings, which are an important sources for understanding or for reconstructing ancient India's past. Another tool for understanding India's past is the literary sources. So can you tell us whether these literary sources throw, what kind of light these literary sources throw on the various aspects of the seals and sealings?
Well, let me tell you that two most important plays, that is one is Kalidasa's Avijnana Shakuntalam and the other is Vishakdatta's Mudra Rakshas. Now these two plays are mainly hinging on mudra, that is seals. So this is most important place you can understand now what the part seals play. You see, now there are people who say that Dushanta was wearing the ring which was meant to seal the documents. But this does not seem to be the case. For the simple reason that Kalidasa mentions that when Dushanta was sitting, two friends of Shakuntala come and they just see the ring on the finger of Dushant and instantly they read the name. Now, this could not have been possible if the name would have been written in reverse order, which must be there if it is meant for sealing. So that's my feeling about it. Now, there are so many other references to seals. Firstly is that seals were used as passports. This is very important that in ancient times, just like in modern times, those elements which are bad for society, those which can create troubles, those which belong to the enemy side, their coming and going should be restricted. So in Mahabharata we are told that when Shalvas seized the city of Dwarka, then the authorities of the city announced that nobody who has a valid pass should be given entry to or should be allowed to go from the city. So these passes were stamped, and then each one was given. If he had a valid pass, then he was allowed to go, otherwise not. Similarly in Mudra Rakshas, similar type in other contexts, the same thing has been said, that only those who have valid pass are allowed to enter or to go out of the place. Now, in ancient times, seals were forged. Well, forgery is not confined to modern times only.
Okay,
So we have those certain examples. For example, there was a slave who wanted to marry the daughter of a merchant. So he forged a letter, and after forging a letter, he somehow then obtained the seal of his master and sealed it with that seal. And sent that letter to another merchant, saying that I'm sending my son to you, you get your daughter married to him. And he got married with the daughter of that merchant. We got another example, not a very healthy and happy one, and that is of the example of Tishyarakshita. We know Tishyarakshita was the chief queen of Ashoka. And Tishyarakshita somehow, she forged a letter and stamped it with the seal of Ashoka, which she has obtained, and then sent a messenger with the letter conveying to Kunal that his eyes should be taken out, because Kunal refuses amorous gesture. Kunal was her stepson, and we are told that she succeeded in doing so. So such was the importance of seal stamp. Now, the Arthashastra mentions that all the goods for export must be sealed properly. If they are not properly sealed, then the merchants are heavily fined. Well, Kamandaka also says that whenever anything for the toilet of the king is to be brought to the palace, first the seal has to be examined whether it has been properly sealed or not. Now, Yajnavalkya, he is the author of Yajnavalkya Smriti, he says that copper plates must be stamped when the king grants land or village to the Brahmanas. Then he used to also give them copper plate, on which the record was there that so and so village or the land in such and such place has been granted to him, this is the measurement, and so on and so forth. And so, whenever there would be a dispute about the land, the Brahman could produce that copper plate, say this is the copper plate, but this would be only valid when it had the seal of the king. So, Yajnavalkya says that the copper plate which are granted to the Brahmanas must be sealed by the king so that it has the authenticity, you see. Now, we have here, Katyan says that the evidence of unsealed document is almost like the testimony of a dead man. So such an importance gained seals that every important document was to be sealed. Now, in the sealing, if you use the ink for sealing purposes, as mostly it is done today, then it could be on paper, on parchment, on cloth, on bhurjapatra and talpatra. And then this type of impression would serve two purposes. One is to authenticate it. Well, I've seen it. You see, or other is it could serve as a signature. You see, the seal is there, the king need not sign now. That itself serves as signature. Now, so you have told that Katyan gives us so that even just like a dead king, you can't have a testimony and you can rely on it, so that unsealed documents cannot be accepted. And Shukra goes further and says, a sealed document is in fact king. Meaning what king will say, well, that document has got the same validity. And it is also said that king's seal, there was a special officer who is to keep king seal. You can't rely on anybody. Anybody, if you say seal it, anybody can seal. Don't think so. He was a very responsible person and that great power. And that's why in Charya Pitaka it is stated that there were people who wanted to become the seal keeper of king. Okay. And for that purpose, they even bribed those persons whom they knew will be the appointing authorities.
Okay.
See, now Thus we see there are many other such instances. See, we've got one instance where a king orders that the relics which are kept in a monastery must be kept safely. They should not be stolen. And for that, what he did, he ordered that the doors should be sealed every night and should be properly guarded. And in the morning, when the door is open, before that the seal is checked whether it is intact or not. So we also know that Harsha, when Yuan was returning to his country, China, he sent several letters to the different kings. You see that Yuan would meet in his return journey with letters sealed, and so that those kings could help Yuan in his return journey. So thus we find that there are so many references in literature from which we know that seals played very important part in the life of the people.
Sir, this is my last question, which actually I didn't frame earlier, but after having look at your book in your table, I thought I must ask these questions to you. Sir, in your this book, Studies in Ancient Indian Seals, you have dealt with the historical seals. I was just wondering, why didn't you deal with the Harappan seals, which are so fascinating, though they have not been deciphered yet, but can you...
Well, you have just, the last word that you said, the last sentence is the reason for that. You know, after all, when you produce a thesis, you have to say something. See, that is, you have to establish something. And you can only establish when your sources are reliable, isn't it? The more reliable your source, the more reliable your conclusions, isn't it? In the case of Harappan seals, since they have not been deciphered, so we do not know what is written. So it will all be guesswork. So since it was a PhD thesis, we could only think of writing on seals of the period for which we have got legends that we can decipher, from which we can really build up the different aspects of society, history and culture of the people. And that was the reason that I took up this subject.
Okay.